Oh, right. And hello, P3ers. Today's video may be a little different than past videos in that this video is being made specifically to give you an opportunity to earn bonus points on a bonus assignment in my class. So by watching the video, you'll learn a little something, and then I'll ask you to apply it to a assignment posted on my Google Classroom. So this is a bonus assignment opportunity for all of my students, but also the opportunity for anybody who is watching the video to learn a little something about the great philosopher Confucius. So to start with Confucius, who is right above my left shoulder here, the wisdom of Confucius behind me in the back of my classroom. Confucius was born around the year 550 BC. And sadly, he was born into a time period known as the Warring States period. Incredibly destructive civil war going on in China. 7 different states all at war with each other, trying to decide who will rule China. We have documents and records, 60,000 people dying in a battle, 80,000 people buried in a field somewhere. The devastation of this war is hard to overstate. It was devastating to China. And it is into this world that Confucius was building a philosophy. Now, his philosophy was one of, well, I guess we could call it social harmony, which would make sense. You live in this incredibly violent, war-torn period. Why wouldn't you want some social harmony to come your way and to help other people find that social harmony as well? Now, one thing about Confucius, people tend to think of him as, I hate to say it, but on the internet, the Confucius says, blah, 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 blah guy. And he did have a lot of maxims, short, pithy sayings designed to teach a lesson, which is part of what we know Confucius for. But everything that Confucius taught, whether in longer anecdotes or those short, pithy sayings, are built on a foundation of 5 key elements of Confucian thought. And it's those 5 key elements that I want to maybe introduce you to. Maybe you never even heard of them. So this is really an introduction to the thinking of Confucius that's always in the background, always the undercurrent of all those pithy sayings that you can find that he said. Also, I just want to share with you a couple sources here. I have 2 of my favorite the sayings of Confucius and the analects of Confucius. This is one that is translated by Lionel Giles. And this is actually the one I prefer even more, the analects of Confucius, with translated by David Hinton. This is a book written by the philosopher Karl Jaspers, in which he explores the teachings and lives of Socrates, Buddha, Confucius, and Jesus. And then we have the great religious scholar Huston Smith in his book, The World Religions. So those are the 4 main sources that I am taking my information from for today's lesson, we'll call it. All right. Now, we have 5 key elements of Confucian thinking that undergird everything. The first one is Jen. Jen is the ideal relationship that should exist between people. It's often translated as love, goodness, or benevolence. And the person who's able to display Jen, this ideal relationship, is usually someone who has a tremendous amount of self-respect. They know who they are. They know what they stand for. They know their intention and why they do things. And because they have this deep sense of self-respect, they also then have a profound sense and capacity to show humanity to others. There's a sublime dignity about someone who is able to operate using the principles of Jen. Now, I say the principles of Jen. It's important to note, and UP3ers will understand this, Confucius is one of our first virtue ethicists, much like Aristotle. So he does have a sense that there's a way to build and teach people virtue. And as they learn virtue, they will have an easier time embracing Jen. He even has a teaching called the doctrine of the mean, which is very much like Aristotle's golden mean, that there's a proper way to do and partake in certain actions at any given moment. So there is overlap between Aristotle and Confucius that you might pick up on if you're one of the P3ers. And we'll get back to that idea in hopefully about 10 minutes. So you have Jen, this ideal way of conducting yourself in human relationships. Then you have Chun Tzu. Chun Tzu is an individual who exhibits Jen on a regular basis. They are, in some ways, an exemplar of virtue. From the P3 pop culture point of view, I have this mug with Uncle Iroh on it. Here's Uncle Iroh. And Uncle Iroh would be a fictional representation of Chun Tzu. He'd be a man who is reached this high level of moral and virtual development where he exhibits Jen on a regular basis and is able to help guide people through different trials and tribulations. All right. Third key concept is the concept of Li. Now, Li has two definitions, and is one that causes a little bit of confusion for Confucius and confusion for people learning about Confucius. And I think it's become a bit of a stereotype to box him in a little bit, which is unfortunate. Now, the first definition of Li, it's the proper way of doing things. There's a way to get things done properly, and that's the path of Li. However, there are so many paths a person can follow in life that it makes it hard to see the path of Li, the proper way of doing things. This is why Confucius teaches the way he teaches. He gives these maxims, these parables, these short anecdotes. It's all an attempt to try to provide an example of what it means to follow the path of Li. He also believes as exemplars that you can point out to people and say, that person is following the path of Li. Confucius looked to the past. The ancients, he called them. The ancients understood the path of Li, and we've lost it. That's why we're in this massive warring state in China. But if we could find Li, things would be better. And that's part of his doctrine of the mean, too, worked in there, that it is a proper way of doing things, the proper amount of courage, the proper amount of humility in any given moment. This might sound very familiar to you P3ers for Aristotle and the golden mean. So that would be one definition of Li, that there's a proper way of doing things. Now, the second definition of Li is ritual. And this is where people get a little bit stereotypical Confucius. Confucius believed in ritual. And people tend to think that he, therefore, was very stodgy and very stiff, if you will, in his teaching, and that you had to do the proper ritual at the proper time, in the proper way, to have the proper result. And that is a very middling definition of an understanding of what Confucius meant by Li as ritual. Now, ritual for Confucius is something that helps deepen our humanity and our connection to others in relationships. There's a proper way to conduct yourself and have rituals in your life. Think about this. I know it's a dog day of March right now, and we're all a little bit tired, but there's rituals coming up for you seniors. Senior prom, senior breakfast, graduation parties, and these happen year in and year out for people. And it becomes part of the ritual of life. And they can be wonderful moments in which we build relationships through these rituals that we embrace together. Your graduating class leaves, there's another graduation class coming in. And that ritual maybe even deepens the connection some teachers have to the school because they're now living the relationships on a more ongoing basis than obviously you are. You think about, you graduate, there's a ritual done. You go through the summer. Maybe there's a place you and your family go every summer, ritual. Fall comes around, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, the Happy New Year. A lot of people live, and those rituals come around, and it gives us a sense of continuity in life. So, on some level, Confucius believes in those rituals in a bigger way, because nature moves in rituals. moves in cycles. So Confucius felt that by having proper rituals in life, you gain a little bit of a footing with the harmony of the way things work. And in so doing, increase your sense of harmony with nature, yourself, and others. So it's not ritual just to say, did it? Say the Hail Mary 7 times. Hey, you should make sure there's 6 candles on that table, not 5. You're going to ruin the ritual. It's not ritual for ritual's sake. There's supposed to be a deepening of the connection and a sense of community. It's not a contest. It's a community. And that's very important to Confucius. In fact, once again, the great religious scholar Houston Smith said this about Lee. He taught that Confucius put forth the idea that if you can embrace Lee properly and get your rituals and get in that harmony, life could even become a bit of a sacred dance with awe-inspiring fluidity to it. Can you imagine that? How often do you actually feel your life is a sacred dance with awe-inspiring fluidity, when things are going so well that that's the feeling you get? Confucius would say that's part of the purpose of your life, to find a way to make that happen, to feel that rhythm, to feel that flow, so that your life, even if it's something like mine, which is, I'm not spectacular here, I'm a teacher, but can I find the fluid rhythms, rituals of life that make my life feel that it's got a certain sense of wonder to it? And maybe I can even share that wonder with other people. Mike, there's something worth working on, as opposed to, going to war with 6 other states in China. So that's Lee. That's the deeper meaning of ritual, and it's often lost when people talk about this. Confucius is the strict one, and here's another Chinese philosopher, Lao Tzu. He's supposed to be the one that's more fluid and open in the Tao Te Ching. There's much more overlap between Confucius and Lao Tzu than people realize, and a lot of it has to do with this concept of ritual. All right, now, the next key component of Confucian philosophy is Te. Te is the moral power by which people live. And people can't be ruled effectively, according to Confucius, for an extended period of time just based on manipulative and authoritative political figures. That's not the power that inspires people. That's not the power that makes people feel the sacred dance of life. It's more repressive than that. More important than laws, which is maybe weird to hear because Confucius is supposed to be the strict law guy, but laws can't force goodness into society. Good people, virtue ethics, create good laws, the action. So he believed in this idea of Te, and once you can embrace that moral core as an individual, you are more capable of helping others see it as well. So not quite a math equation, but think about it this way. K, the moral core of individuals, is found by embracing Li, the correct path, and by embracing the correct path, you become Chun Tzu, and then you exhibit Jen. So it's all coming together now. Hopefully you see how with Te it all comes together. And lastly, there's Wen, the arts of peace. The arts of peace. This is music, art, drawing, poetry. I would then add to it in our modern times, even theater and movies. All are part of the artistic, and Confucius would say spiritual mode of art that allows people to heal. Confucius was a deep believer that art had the power to heal. Art has the power to inspire. In fact, if you can see next to me, I hope this is in camera, there's a movie Sing Sing, which is really about Wen on a particular level, about the ability of art and theater to help men heal or feel free, even within the prison Sing Sing. So this idea of the beauty and power of art to transform people, maybe not transform them economically to become financially more successful, but it transforms and it touches their hearts, deepens that wellspring of compassion. and makes them more susceptible to following the path of Li and becoming Chun Tzu someday. All right. So those are your five primary, those are the five different aspects of Confucian thinking. What I am going to challenge you to do, and this is a bonus assignment, gave you a couple hints at it, take each one of these concepts and give me a pop culture example for it, how it plays out in pop culture. And once again, for example, I gave you can't use this one because I gave it to you. There's Uncle Iroh, and he is Chun Tzu through and through. And I could give you a couple of quotes from Chun Tzu, of Uncle Iroh to show how he's Chun Tzu from the show. I'd say, hey, remember we did this, he did that. For when the arcs of peace, I have the movie Sing Sing, which I think is a fantastic example. And I can give you a couple of, and if I was doing the assignment, easily give a couple of scenes that show how that works out for you. So what I want you to do is for each one of these, give me a pop culture example for it. Also, and this is going to be a challenge, this is not going to be like, this is not 2 bonus points. This is like a 20 bonus point assignment right here. For each example, provide one of the Analects of Confucius, from the Analects of Confucius, provide a short maxim or saying that you think goes along with one of those 5 key elements and your pop culture exemplar. I am going to put on our Google Classroom about 2 pages of maxims from Confucius, from the Analects of Confucius. So you're going to have about probably 40 of his sayings to work with. So you have those 40 sayings. You have the information just shared with you. Now you're going to put it together with a piece of pop culture for each of those key elements of Confucian thinking. Jen, Chun Tzu, Li, Te, and Wen. So good luck to you. Obviously, I'll be in class to help you out with this bonus assignment if you so choose to do it. You can even post me a question if you wanted to on the feed below the video. If you're someone who's not in my P3 class, by the way, and you thought this was maybe interesting to you, or you finally learned something, you enjoyed it, feel free to subscribe to the channel, and there'll be more videos coming, and maybe it'll be something else that attracts your interest. And if you're not a P3er and you liked what you heard today, go do the assignment. I'll give you bonus points in life. I'll give you life bonus points, 20 bonus points. But it won't do anything for you, but it might make you feel good. So what the hell? It feels good to feel good. So maybe, even a non-P3er could get some bonus points. I doubt that's going to happen. But you real P3ers, feel free to do the assignment, talk to me about it, share your ideas, and let's see what we come up with for the Analects of Confucius. All right, everybody have a good day, good luck, and I will talk to you later. Bye.